Join us each week on Feet to the Fire, a show with the goals of examining a subject matter on its own merits and test how it stands up to the many possibilities found in reality. All without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are no free passes given either. Answers to questions are important, but equally important is the reasons and methods used to find the answer. The lack of contradiction is the final judge here on Feet to the Fire. Feet. Sunday evenings, 8 to 11 Eastern. Fire. How do you listen? www.feet2fire.com for more information.
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guests, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
All right, we are back, and we are live. Feet to the Fire. I'm your host, James Altheanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. All righty. Well, it's not, it's not fun. At some point in the past, you can have this combative spirit. You're going to talk about things. You're going to do things. And you want to, there we go. There we go. And there's kind of like almost a, kind of like a sport or a war game or some type of challenge. And I notice some people who are out there, who are fighting this fight in this neo-Bolshevik culture revolution, that are exuberated by it. They have the, we're going to fight them and we're going to win, or we're going to, there's just some kind of a, oh, I got the wrong date up here. Sorry about that. A lot of configuration to do for the broadcast. All right. And there's I don't know, it's almost like making a plan. It's like people who start a business and they're into the business and they're going to make their company's going to be best. We're going to make this, we're going to do that. And you got this. Yeah, we're going to do it. Well, now a lot of people are taking that in this current revolutionary state that we're in. To me, it's very disturbing, both the revolutionary state and the carnival-like atmosphere that seems to be around both sides. So, I don't know. It's kind of with heavy heart that I do these things. I think about it, but good things I want to say tonight. When you do have a less visible commentary, we'll tack on the end. I want to mention that timing is a key revealer of what's going on. You'll notice that when Donald Trump won, they tried the elector, the faceless elector, was going to vote him out, and that failed. And they were going to have some disruption at the swearing in, or perhaps they were hoping the justices wouldn't do it, or one of these things, and that didn't happen. Then you have the Russia Gate, I guess it was called, which is, what is this, August? This is going on since the election, or post-election, and there's nothing. I mean, it just goes to show you how clean Donald Trump is, that they can have the largest magnifier glass in the world looking back into your records, and there's nothing. And with the Mueller investigations widening now to look at all the people who's ever done business with Donald Trump back to 10 years ago. What if he did business in Russia 10 years ago? He sold a property, sold a condo to somebody in Russia. I mean, even if he turned out later on to be some kind of a diplomat, I mean, it's ridiculous. And so there's nothing you got going there. Let me just check this for a minute. Got me a little nervous on this. Okay, yeah, that's working. So that didn't work. Then they tried to bring in his son for that meeting with the Russian lawyer who was looking like to push lifting sanctions on the adoption of Russian kids, which was kind of a sanction war. And they looked to do that. But they try to lure him in by saying, we got some dirt on Clinton. He goes there and he sees that there was nothing there and it was just a ploy to get him there. He leaves. He opens up and shows him everything immediately. There's nothing there. So now we go back to the original plan right after the election was all the violence. And now we're back to that plan. And so as I look at it, the timing of all of a sudden, we're tearing down Confederate monuments. All of a sudden. Not 2 months ago. Not 10 years ago. You had 8 years of Barack Obama. A mixed race president. Black and white. Why now? Why right now? Well, it's because these other things failed. Now that's the excuse. That's going to rile up, or the plan is to rile up the voting base for Donald Trump, who is either going to be partial to America, American history, or perhaps even Southern history for those living there. And so rile them up. They start to have a little march of the nationalists. See, white nationalist is not a bad thing. In fact, let me stop here for a minute. This is the part that obviously all the thing I'm saying is going to show that this is all crap, right? You have black power, black pride, the National Association for Colored People, Operation Push, to try and undo the damage that was done, the retardation in participating in the American dream. I'm going to sneeze. Now, when someone wants to talk about their other their other racial pride, I always thought, what pride is in the race? You were born in that. Pride to me is something you achieve. I didn't achieve being white, or no one who's black achieves being black. It's just the way it is. Now, if you're born in a poor family and you went to school, or you made some kind of a business, and you pull that, then there's something that you can have pride in. But anyway, you have all this stuff. And so when someone starts to talk about, wait a minute, we like some of the things about the white ethnicity, right? They're racist. And they go to the point where a black cannot be racist. If you look up the definition of racist, it's people making decisions based on one's race, period. So if a guy's going to be okay because he's white, or okay because he's black, that's a racist decision. Because it should be okay based on their principles, their performance, and so on. So I'm very colorblind when it comes to this stuff. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what color you are. It's a question of following the American culture and the traditions. And if you're born here, regardless of what your ethnicity is, and you're raised here, it's automatic. And if you're an immigrant, legal immigrant who goes through the process, well, then you have to learn it. But they're not that difficult. And so anyway, I'm watching all this stuff, and it's obvious that they are, if not outright paying for the white supremacists / Nazis / KKK. I'm 60. In all the years I've been around, I've never seen these people dressing up like crusaders. They're all matching the outfits. Sounds to me like somebody purchased this, designed this, and gave it to them. There were Craigslist ads at these events. So you have these white supremacist Nazi types, which, well, let me get to that in a minute, though, which is funny because they're like nothing to do with the Nazis, nor the neo-Nazis in the 70s. And then you have the mixture of people in there who just didn't want to have their heritage go away, the history of America. And then you have the Antifa show up, and Black Lives Matter show up, and of course there's riots. Now a person ended up dying. There's some film saying that the guy, his car got hit by a pole or a bat, and he panicked and went forward. That's still no excuse. You're still second-degree manslaughter. But these are the type of things that say that was planned to happen. And then the president comes out and says that it's bad on both sides, and he, of course, decried the Nazi, white supremacist stuff. Not good enough. And the networks double down and lie and misrepresent at a point. Because I listen to when the person speaks. I want to hear what the person says, not what somebody tells me they say. So I've been watching all the stuff that he has been doing, and I've been looking at the mainstream media who have been criminal. I mean, as far as violating the public trust, and even to treason, and how they've been handling it. And now we find the politicians coming out and the various pundits who were somewhat Trump supporters who are now backing off. And some were never Trumpers or bad Trumpers like Romney. And now they see an opportunity to go step on him, to kick him when he's down. He's not down, though. I mean, that's one thing about Donald Trump. It's absolutely amazing to me how this guy can just keep on going. So to me, it's clear the timing of all of this was I got a mosquito bite working in the yard. The timing of all this was it's a new plan. Okay, this didn't work, doesn't work. Now here's the new one, and it's disgusting. And I mean, it's disgusting to see the people also who were Republicans dropping on Trump. And it's not that Trump is doing something. Hold on for 1 second here. Doing something wrong, because he isn't. It's not racist. Trump is not racist. It has not been. He's been not racist for many years. He has awards from Jesse Jackson, Operation Push, for how he's helped and working in the inner city. It goes on and on. Rosa Parks was winning awards. You have the King family, Martin Luther King's family, supporting and criticizing the extreme left. So, I mean, it's so obvious this is going on. And for anybody out there who is doing this whole, he's a misogynist, he's a racist, you are being programmed by the mainstream, and you're just following it. So anyway, I'm very distraught by this, because what I would recommend for the movement of the people who are trying to protest pro-speech and all this, it's unfortunate, but what it is they're waiting for you to do this to set you up, because the whole mainstream media will not criticize Antifa, which is a terrorist organization. They are the American ISIS types. This is what's coming into here. I mean, no question about it. Black Lives Matter may have people in there who have good intentions, but there's plenty of ne'er-do-wells in there. And it goes to the people who may be the nationalists. There might be good people in there, and then there's ne'er-do-wells. And then what on earth is David Duke showing up at this? If David Duke really believed in some type of white nationalism as opposed to supremacists, he wouldn't be doing this stuff, because he's bringing harm to his own cause. All that happened is the Nazis, who are a handful of people who came up to this, the white supremacist Nazi, a handful of people came up there, have been blown into this big danger. Oh my God, the Nazis are coming. They're nowhere. When's the last time you all saw the Nazis marching? Now let me get back to that. Going back to in the 70s, there was a group of neo-Nazis, as they were called. They wore the brown shirts, the whole 9 yards, the swastika, in Chicago, and they had a office that wasn't too far where I lived. The South Marquette Park area, for those who are familiar with Chicago back then, was kind of a tough race area. There was a lot of race stuff in the 70s. Riots. In school, I sat in the public school. I had to sit there for hours while they closed the school down, so there was riots going on. It was a tough time. And so now when you have this, when the Nazis, they wanted to march into Skokie. Now, I should have this all documented. And I think I'm going to have to do this as a mini little thing, show, because it's very important. The neo-Nazis wanted to march in Skokie. Skokie is one of the most Jewish suburbs in Chicago. And at that time in the 70s, you had a lot of Holocaust survivors or Holocaust family member survivors. They're living in Skokie. So the Nazis wanted to march right down Skokie. And they said, no, you can't do it. Freedom of speech. Goes through the courts, ends up going up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0, that hate speech is still covered by the Constitution as freedom of speech, as repugnant as it is. They have a right to march. So what ended up happening was, and I got to find this, I got to find these paperwork. If somebody's out there and they want to really give me a blessing, find these stories. It was in Chicago, and the Supreme Court, though, of course, was going to be a national thing. And I had the documents, and I can't find them. And oddly enough, I went back looking for them, and one of the stories has been redated to a current date. So I'm wondering if there's been some editing going on. But they said that it was free speech. Now, what happened was the city of Chicago negotiated with the neo-Nazis, and they offered to let them march in Chicago, which would be less harmful to the people who were actually with real Nazis, not neo-Nazi knuckleheads, but the real deal. And they agreed. So they had their march, and then they ended up disbanding. The leader of the group was arrested for pedophilia or underage sex, probably think it was. It's a little sketchy. He was tried, found guilty, did his time, moved on, and the whole thing disappeared. And that was the end of it. So the Nazis are not a threat. The KKK was actually Democrats. There's a movie out, The Big Lie, or a book out, The Big Lie. I saw an interview. I'll put it in here. It's my Facebook. It's got the links to Stefan Malliou talking with D'Souza, who is the writer of the book. He also directed the movies Hillary's America and several other things, bringing out the actual real history of what happened. And the Ku Klux Klan was Democrat. There were 0 slave owner Republicans at the time, just before the Civil War. All slave owners were Democrat. I mean, this is the history we're coming from. And now they switched over. So they went from slave owners in the South to being the politicians running the inner cities. So I hear the words of Malcolm X ringing out. He's ringing out against the white liberals who get your vote and they don't do anything for you. So you're the chumps that keep voting for him. No wonder he got killed. Anyway, it's really terrible. And it's all planned. It's so obvious it's planned. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be a big researcher. You just have to be alive and paying attention. Like wasn't even paying attention for the most part in political stuff, only really until Ron Paul came around. So that's what it's all about. This is a ploy. Every time you have a protest for freedom of speech, which is going to be made to be a Nazi white supremacist movement, you're going to have Antifa show up who are going to be the heroes in the mainstream media. Now, I had read something that the DOJ was looking at Antifa being a terrorist organization, and I'm sure it was one of those fake news ones that people want to have happen. But if anybody's got anything about that, please send it to me. But now with Bannon leaving, a lot of people, Bannon was one of the guys I liked. But out of Bannon's own words, he can do more now at Breitbart than he could there, as far as he knows what's going on from the beginning up till now. He knows the whole story. He's the only guy who can come out of there. No leaks necessary. He was right there. So I'm interested to see what he does. But, and it's all because what Trump wanted to do would actually undo what's being done. Through Obama and going into Clinton, they were going to keep bringing down the American system. Well, Trump comes in, opens up the coal mines. Now they're exporting coal to China. They're bringing in various factories back to America on the promise of working conditions. So he has to get the tax cut through to follow through. Excuse me. Follow through for these people to come in and build things and all that. It's making America great again as far as the entrepreneurial, the Americana, the goals for people, and they don't want that because they want to bring down America so they can fit into the global war. I mean, it's so obvious to me. It's so night and day. And when I talk to somebody who's completely out of it when it comes with this stuff, it's almost, where do I start? There's about a million things. And they'll turn around and say to me about, well, the New York Times says, or Washington Post, and a friend of mine, I talked to him about the Russia stuff, and I said, there is absolutely zero to the Russian thing. He's like, come on. All these people, all the investigation, there's nothing there. I says, if you were to look up on the internet, because you won't find it on CNN, every single player involved, from Comey to all the investigators in the Senate, Democrat and Republican, all said they have found nothing yet. And now they're writing it to try and find something, and it's not working. So it's time, and now we had one of Mueller's high-level investigators quit. He's probably getting out of there to get out of the, make it looking like idiots when they find nothing. So it's very upsetting. Now, those listening here don't know this unless they read my Facebook, but Tuesday morning I came out to go to work, and my 4x6 foot Trump sign that I've had on for 1 year on my garage was gone. No vandalism in terms of spray paint. It was just taken. Somebody took the sign. So what I did was I put up lighting around my whole garage, and I put in a security camera. Let me go to the camera now. There is a shot I took just before the show. Because what I think is, you see these two trees? Somebody came along, if you could see they came along the backside here, came along the back of the garage, and went around real quick and grabbed it and left. Because I have another security camera that faces farther this way, so it wouldn't have got that close of an angle. And they came out and took it. I believe it's the neighbor who was complaining about the sign. So we filed a police report, had the police come over, and it did put the fear, I think, in them, because they've been, the wife is the one causing trouble. She's been avoiding even being out at the same time we are. And of course, there you go. There's the new Trump sign. Now, I couldn't find a 4x6, so I got a 3x5. And we do now have a 24-hour high definition camera on it, recording. And I also put up that black bar there as to cover the light that comes out. I got a light that will turn on through sensitivity by walking up to it. And and also on the other side, you can't see it, but on the other side of the garage, I put two lights that are motion sensitive. So if anybody comes walking up that way, the lights will come on, and that will probably scare them away. I will put a camera on that side looking out too. I got to do one at a time. I mean, I don't have the time and the cash to simply put in a whole security system. So, but now the Trump sign is back up, and we'll see how that goes. I also want to mention, speaking of hacking, let me go to I figured a way how I can bring my MacBook Pro into the radio show. And I want to go, I'm going to show you something. Now, you guys see this. This email system is set up for my server. I have my own server, dedicated server. It lets me know when someone tries to hack in to the SSH port. It's just one way to hack into a computer. That goal is to try and take over from the ground up. Now, this is just today. There is all of the hacks just from today. Let's say from midnight, or from right here. There's 12 a.m., right? 12 a.m. Let me get rid of these other ones to show. Oh, no, that's right. I did it from 24-hour period from 7 o'clock p.m. yesterday till now. 587 hacks attempts on my server on one port, one of the many ports, right? I want you to see this. All right, where is it? To me, folders, count. Let me go back down here. Oh, I did this earlier now. Why didn't it work? No, this didn't work. I did this before. Let me see. This is pretty cool. Oh, it helps to spell Russia correct, huh? There we go. Invincis. Must be in Invincis. All right. There was 10 hack attempts from Russia into my system. Now, I'm not the DNC. I'm not the United States government. But here are the hack attacks that were done by Russia trying to hack into my servers. This is the same thing that Rubio said about his server that got hacked, and he testified about the Russian hacking. Well, here I am, right? Now, here's the interesting part, 10, right? And I am not the, try China. Vinces? Must be in. All right. 622 hack attacks by China. 622. Where it shows exactly where it came from. 10 from Russia, 622 from China. Now you can say, well, it's because they've been cracking down on Russia. No. China is the number one hacker of all this stuff, and it still keeps on coming. I just wanted to show that. Just one server, just me, one 24-hour period, 7 p.m. to 7 p.m., and there are all the hacks. That just goes to show you. Let's see. I also want to mention, here is the latest on the Bitcoin, $4,079. Now, it was up to 44, I think, something. So, as you can see, it's down from its top, but it was 44. And it crashed to 39, and now it's back. It was up to 44, so it's going up. It's trying to find its. Because what's happening is people are playing this. They're day trading it. So they'll sell off here, and it starts to go down. And other people go, okay, better sell it. So they sell it, and when it goes back down here, where they could sell, make $500, and then they'll start buying it, and they write it up again. And this stuff is not meant to do that. It's not meant to be day traded, but that is what happens in the system. But just letting you know how that is. Let me see if I got any. All right, nothing. I also want to talk to you about Zeph Daniels. See if I can find this speaker. I don't know if it's Daniel or Daniels. Daniel. All right. I like him. He's. I can't explain it really. I mean, they do every year, every 20th they do prayer. 20 on 20 for human trafficking, and that's his latest show that's up there. But you can see the list of them. And I want to recommend, if you want to go back, if you start with None is the Same as Before, Zero Minus, go back. These are pretty good to listen to. Now, I want to say he's a Christian, and I don't know how I would say it. He's not a pastor. He's not a preacher. But he does talk about these things. He has... he's also very good musically. In fact, he wrote to me. I asked him if he wanted to work on one of my songs, and he's interested, so I'm really thrilled about that. But if you want to try this out, it's free. It's on Spreaker. You look up Zeph Daniel. And I'll put the link down in there, and you can start listening to these things. If you are a Christian, he is like me, I guess, unconventional, but still, he's still rather orthodox. Kind of a little touch of charismatic in what the Orthodox. I don't want to describe him because you have to listen to him. He's like his own thing. It's pretty good, but I wanted to mention that it might be worth your time. And let's get to the Facebook deal. Let me go to my Facebook. Oh, I was typing in a statement here. Okay. James, there we go. Right. What a great picture. I love this. I'm 1/4 Polish. Jancek was either a Polish or Czech name. But my grandfather, who died when my dad was 7, he's Polish. I mean, he was Czech. My grandmother was Polish. And on my mother's side, it's all Norwegian. So, what a beautiful thing. These guys are marching in Poland. They got a no swastika and no sickle. You know, no fascism, no communism. And they got the Polish flag in there. Fantastic. Would love to see that kind of a march here. So it's no left, no right. It's the national Poland, how it's doing, and you got a bunch of people out there. That's tremendous. Here's a story, and it figures. NASA plans to save mankind from Yellowstone supervolcano eruption, even though it could trigger an eruption. Doesn't that seem right? You're depressed, having suicidal tendencies, so they give you a drug, which one of the side effects is suicidal tendencies, right? I mean, what a fantastic thing. So now NASA is thinking about building giant geothermal plans, which will take the heat out. By taking the heat out, it would help things. They were talking about having heat vents, but then it would warm the atmosphere, so I got a couple articles. Some are a little more sensational, and some are more conservative. Yeah, this is a Twitter thing. Maybe I can write this in here. Don't people ask why now? Those statues were there through the 8 years of Obama without a peep. It's because of Trump's mega economic plans. The neo-Bolsheviks going hot as Trump stopped the silent slide under Obama, which was planned to continue under Clinton. That's a tweet that I put in. If you want to get on my tweet thing, it's JAJANCIK. I think you probably can type in "feet to the fire" and it would find it. I'm not familiar how that all works. But that's one of the things I talked about today. Here's another great picture. Here's a picture of these wonderful Antifa protesters. You notice he's got a board with a nail sticking in it, all with their masks on, just like ISIS, and all coming, threatening to do harm. Yeah, these are the people Mitt Romney and the left are saying are peaceful protesters. These are they are the reason Trump argued with the press that they're bad people on both sides. Press also knows about these disgusting people. Yeah, well, they got the press is the press is doing their job. James Woods, I tell you, he's sharp. I mean, the actors around here are pretty stupid and are saying dumb things, but sharp man Woods is really intelligent. He just cuts right through. Good stuff. So there they are. There they are with their things going on. Yeah, Maxine Waters ranting and railing. Says Ben Carson is a white-wing nationalist. There you go. John Coleman. For those in Chicago, you know John Coleman, if you're old enough anyway. In the 70s, he's the guy who invented the whole weatherman, the whole kind of kooky weatherman type thing, or I should say charismatic weatherman. Up till then, they were kind of a branch of science, right? So John Coleman comes in there making smiley faces in the suns and all these things, storms and thowers and all this. He went on to be one of the co-creators of the Weather Channel, who has been staunch. He, Weather Channel founder, denies climate change, so put me to death, he says. John. Good Chicago boy. I mentioned about, this is when I had the stolen. Here's the link. I'll put this up. Left Fascism. Dinesh D'Souza and Stephen Molecule. Molyneux. This is a great 30 minutes. Great 30 minutes. I'm looking forward to his book, The Big Lie. I can get it on, if I can get it on audio, I will listen to it. Charles Ortel. This guy is good. This guy has all the Clinton stuff. There's 3 videos. I already put it in an earlier video. You can look up Lionel Nation on YouTube and look for Charles Ortel. 3-hour-long or so videos, well worth your time to be immersed in the reality of the Clinton cabal cartel foundations. Amazing. Yeah, this is where he talked about how seconds before the crowd. See if it's got a picture of it. Yeah. We have to go to my main webcam thing. Get all to the advertisements, and we got all the stuff. Where's the still? They don't really have it. Boom. See the guy come out and hit the guy's car. Boom. And then the guy took off in the crowd. Again, it's still going to be homicide. What's the word? What am I looking for? Second degree homicide. Oh, I closed my chat room. Sorry if people are there trying to get a hold of me. I know what I did. Well, there we go. You because you're a private server. Yeah, they're asking me about the hacking. See, I should have paid attention to the chat room. Why me? And that's my point. Is they hack everybody. It's all numbers. They got machinery that just says, and it just checks each IP and it goes to the next one, and it checks probably hundreds of thousands per day. And if they get any response, then they put it off to the side so then humans can look at it later. And that's my point. If anybody wants to say they got tried to get hacked by the Russians, that's all they got to do. And that's what Rubio did. And I was embarrassed for the man. If he really believes this, I was embarrassed for his ignorance, and that must mean the people are telling him. But if he knows this, then shame on him. He's using this. So on. Vehicular homicide, yeah. So here's a nice poster. You got the white power, you got the black power. Scares people who aren't white. Black power scares people who aren't black. This is the only power that scares the establishment. There you go. There you go. It's these knuckleheads on the extremes that are getting all this attention. Of course, it's planned by the mainstream. Boy, I tell you, you know what? I was talking to somebody, they mentioned that in the inner ring of hell in Dante's Inferno, Satan had 3 heads. And I think all 3, but I can remember 2 of them he was gnawing on, and it was Judas, and it was Brutus, because they're betrayers and liars. And the media is doing this. They are full knowledge, knowing that they are parsing the news to make Trump bad, to the point of lying or lying in an omission sense, or blowing things out of proportion. And it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I didn't look at this I wanted to see if this was Photoshopped. This is real or not. I forgot to check it out. But here's Obama cheesing it up with a former KKK member promoting his book. Now, I know Hillary Clinton, her mentor, was this. But what he said was he gave it up. It was wrong. And he's fine. He's forgiven. Here's Trump, who never embraced it. And because he didn't say it fast enough, and he said it very... Now he's, it's obviously because they want to... They want to get him. Jan Irving, I've had him on the show. He has mentioned that one of the witnesses in Charlottesville is a CIA operative. So is it a witness or an accessory? That's a good question. And of course, here's some anecdotal stuff. Help me understand how one Muslim terrorist doesn't represent all of Islam, but one white supremacist idiot represents all who voted for Donald Trump. See, this is the simple logic stuff. If you have a logical brain, if you have a normal type ability to discern, this stuff is so obvious that this is a coup plan on the left. It's just so obvious. This is great. Somebody replied, "Hey, you know what? You know who else drink water? Hitler drinks water." See, that levity does help a little bit, but it's like, okay, so I'm caught up. Just a watch. The current Justice Department, Judicial Watch, sued to get Freedom of Information Act on the talking points of Lynch-Clinton meeting in the tarmac, and the Justice Department blacked out all of them. Now, Sessions can turn in and go, no, show this. So I know it's a big thing, and somebody had to bring it to his attention, but I'm hoping that would be there. But if it's all blacked out, why? Excuse me. Now, let me switch to, I don't know if this is going to show up nice, right? No, it's not. I'm going to have to go to, I guess, a large. Yeah, I got a Twitter here from somebody. I put a bunch of Twitters up. Hillary said, "Not anyone willing to accept results of an election is a danger to democracy." Turns out the person who destroyed the Durham Confederate statue was a pro-North Korea Marxist. Go figure. See? It's a plan. These are players. This is a coup. This is the American version of a color revolution. Well, literally in some cases, or more importantly, the culture revolution of Mao, where they took down all culture items from the past, even killed people who were... There you go. Here's our CNN for you. Violent Antifa protesters are seeking peace. You have to body in the way. You have to body in the way. It's a CNN lays out the narrative that Antifa protesters are driven to violence in an effort for peace. Man, Orwell, huh? Moments ago, a woman dragged, waving American flag, dragged by a protester. Steve Bannon. Hey, little Marco, justifying physical violence against hate speech is in itself a prime definition of hate speech. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Bannon, and here we have a Missouri Democrat, and I think she's a state senator, but here she says, "I hope Trump is assassinated." Maria Chappelle, Nadal, Democrat, Missouri. And what I think I read that it was a state senator and that she was being kicked out. Yeah, unmasking, here's the story. Unmasking leftist Antifa movement. Activists seeking peace through violence. And there's some more items on here. This is nice. All my heroes kill cops with the mask on. You know. And here's all the violence they're fighting. And here's a picture of The Economist showing Trump speaking through a KKK hood. There you go. Yeah, this is a nice picture. It is a wall of all the people, all the Trump supporters that were hit and hurt by Black Lives Matter, except it doesn't have the 5 cops who were killed. But I've got to check the chat room here. Race has become a ball they hit back and forth. Yeah, War and Peace. Zindi is there, Darth Vader, Margie. Margie's been around a long time listening to her Feed the Fire. JC. Yeah. Here's a German scientist. Drug people with Oxycontin or oxytocin promote the acceptance and immigration of migrants. Just crazy. Joy Reid calls Trump a bigot, says he wants kids like her dead. What? Now, here's a guy that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to get him on here to talk about something. Jim Jatra. He's somebody that you really should consider putting on your following if you're in Twitter, Jim Jatra. He's very well informed and very familiar with the things going on from Syria. And so that's somebody I would recommend too to get on the list. I'm going to have him talking about my theories. There we go. There's the John McCain. I think we're done here. Some of this stuff gets pretty redundant, but I put it up. I think we've pretty much covered that. Turn this back here so I can see what's going on here. We'll get to that later. Now, before we get to Less Visible, another thing I wanted to talk about was, I'll leave that up so I don't forget it, was this eclipse that's happening. Now, I know there hasn't been a full eclipse in the United States in quite a while. I don't remember what the years were, but back in the 80s, there was a very good partial eclipse. I remember delivering for Fannie Mae Candy, coming out and seeing the sky was different. You know, the lighting was funny. And then I did the thing where I poked a hole in the cardboard. I made it like a little camera to watch it. It was maybe it was like halfway eclipse. It was in Minnesota. So now they're going to have a full-blown deal. And the thing about if you get into the Bible and the Old Testament, it talks about stars and the planets to mark times and epochs and so forth and so on. And then you have the New Age approach. Well, it's just bringing in energy. It's a beginning. It's like a death. It's like the death card. Death means life. There's a beginning and all this. And then you take in the people who are taking it as a sign because, as I understand it, I wonder if I can quickly find something here. Eclipse. X on America. Yeah. Okay, here we go. 2 solar eclipses. Yeah, let me put this up. X marks the spot. 2 solar eclipses in 7 years. So, some people are looking at this, that this is, basically the universe putting a big X on America saying, you are it. So you have this crisscrossing across. We have a bigger picture. 2024 will be the cross. Still not gonna hit Chicago, but it'll come a little bit higher than the other one. So the thought is, and it's 7 years across. So if you get into the Bible stuff again, 7 years, 7 is a symbol of perfection throughout the Hebrew numerology. You have the 7-year tribulation. Actually, the 7-year tribulation is really 7 periods of 7, and it's the 7 weeks of Daniel, and they make it into a year. So I mean, it's really kind of an invented thing, but it's going to be an X right now in this time. So, the theory being is that look to see that if this is going to be used by the New World Order types, that it could be the beginning of a 7 years attack to try and get out trouble, which may end up 7 years. And if he gets reelected again, it continues and so on. So who knows what it's going to be. I would like it to be something like, it's a mark that's going to bring in a time of change and enlightenment and all that stuff. But having gone through 2012 and other things, a lot of that stuff is, if it's not malarkey, it's not what they think it is. So I got to leave that one up there. Remember that. So 7 years. It starts on the 21st, and then September 23rd, I went a couple shows back. I talked about this interpretation of Revelation 21, where you have the woman gives birth, the son's at her, sun is at her in her front, and anyway, it all ends up being like the Virgo with the planets going through it, and so when it starts on the 23rd, and so people are thinking that perhaps the 23rd Trump will be ousted and he'll have to run and hide, or I don't know. And then I got a theory about the two witnesses, one of them being Trump, because they hate him so much that in this prophecy in Revelation that they would give gifts and celebrate his death and leave him to stay on the street for 3 days, lay him down on the ground for 3 days. And I'm thinking, wow, who could be hated that bad that they would celebrate around the entire world and give gifts to one another? I go, well, here comes Trump. So that's my little toss into the mix on it. So I think that's, because I think I don't know, what do you guys think? And I'm looking to see if anybody's talking about this, wearing masks like bank robbers. Yeah, there was a lunar eclipse in 97 here in Canada. Yeah. It's over my head. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I think that's summing up. I mean, I started out with like a serious talk. It is very serious. This is unprecedented in my lifetime. Not even close. The 60s and the riots, nothing like this at all. This is all planned by the deep state and the left. And then you have the good deep state, and you have the good parts of the military. I mean, you have a split. And Jesus talked about, he didn't come to bring peace, but to bring a sword, to have mother versus father and son versus mother and all this other stuff. This is what's happening right now. I mean, it's actually fitting in there where what's going on is a separation. Separation is not occurring on any race, any ethnicity, religion, or country, nationality. The split is across the middle, and the split is literally those people of goodwill versus those people of anger, hate, and negativity, and so on. It's right there. So I don't know if the eclipse is a way of coming in and saying, talking about a split, or maybe it's just an eclipse. Who knows? But anybody's got any information about that 70s Supreme Court ruling about freedom of speech, I would appreciate some of the help on that. I'm not going to have a lot of time this week to be looking for things. In fact, I got to get up early today, which is why I'm not planning more things. So I think what I'll do is I'll get to Less Visible, and then we'll take it from there. If I think of something after Less Visible, I'll pop back in again, but we'll just go to Less.
Yeah. Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to Dog Poet Transmitting, and greetings from the Arcturian Brotherhood and the Sirius Cluster. The thoughts of your friends from more evolved cultures wish you the best in these trying times. And these times are trying, to say the least. You can see the explosions of madness taking place all around us. These are not spontaneous outbreaks of righteous indignation. They are outbreaks of the overindulged, of those who have been pampered and spoiled until their sense of entitlement has expanded beyond the boundaries of everything sensible and reasonable. There are no people on earth more dangerous than social reformers. More people have died at the hands of social reformers than any warlord or dictator or banker who is not a social reformer. Trump was right about what he said. These people with the Antifa are easily more dangerous than the alt-right. And people on site where this event was going on in Charlottesville have clearly testified that the mayor of the town, who's a tribe member, and the vice member, who is one of the BLM people, Black Lives Matter, told the police to stand down at the last minute when they've been preparing for months, and chaos ensued. They told them not to interfere at all. So these Antifa people, the insane left, were pepper spraying them, clubbing them, doing everything that they could. And most of the people there were really there about free speech and their rights, which are being taken away by an amalgam of individuals who are pushing social issues that are really not a positive thing for the rest of humanity, and certainly not in the long run. Everything that you see is being endangered by cynical interests that are being financed from behind the scenes. Many of the demonstrators appearing at these rallies have been hired off of Craigslist for $25 an hour to show up. Large bodies of individuals are hired, hundreds of them, and sent to different locations to give the appearance of being representative of particular ideologies, and they're only representative of being idiots who are for sale. The force of Satanism at this time is egregious. It is really having an impact on existence. But you know much about all of these things. You see about it in the news. You may have been there. And certainly there have been a lot of other demonstrations recently. One in Boston, one in Hot Springs, one somewhere else. There were some clashes, but mostly they kept them together, and that is because the police were not told to stand down. Can you believe they actually did that? Well, they did. Let's talk about the apocalypse. I mean, the eclipse, I'm sorry. There's a British astrologer at psychics.org. That makes me wonder, and he was a bit bloviating and ponderous in things he was talking about, so I won't even reference who it was. But he did make one very good point that a lot of other people have made as well. This eclipse, there are 7 planets that are in exactly the same place they were in 1791 when the French Revolution occurred following it. Okay? I want to make another point about eclipses in general. But first, a little sidebar here. Trump, in a lot of ways, resembles Louis XVI. His lifestyle, his excessiveness, his materialism, all of his money, his sort of splendor and grandeur in which he lives. There's some very interesting ironies going on here. As I say, I'm neither pro nor opposed to Donald Trump. When he's right, he's right. And when he's not, he's not. And we'll have to see. Sometimes history makes the man or woman or it. Because we got a lot more it's these days than just men and women. Visible, you're so politically incorrect. Oh, I feel terrible about that. Not as terrible as the fact that it's happening, but yeah. Anyway, I want to point some things out about an apocalypse. What people do not realize is they have a very big impact on life, on your consciousness, on your state of mind, on your level of awareness, and on the way you handle things that come before you, happen around you, or just in the way that you behave following an eclipse. And this can continue for months, if not forever in some cases. Well, for a long time. Let's never say forever. Yeah. And this is very important. Now, a lot of yahoos are going to be out there tomorrow. They're going to be, like they're in a 3D movie. They're going to be having these special sunglasses on, staring at the eclipse. I keep wanting to say apocalypse. Might be a reason for that. And then there are other people who are going to have these glasses that are not safe. They're knockoffs. There's a lot of people trying to cash in on this event. And so there will be blindness. And like I say, there will be blood. There'll probably be both. There are going to be a lot of crimes committed while the eclipse is operating because there's going to be darkness and there's going to be confusion. A lot of people's attention is going to be elsewhere. Opportunism often has a lot to do with crimes that get committed. Motive, means, and opportunity. Anyway, the apocalypse, visible, the eclipse, has a profound effect upon us. And the Navajos, in this state where I live, they're all taking off from school, and they're all going to be indoors during the apocalypse for this very reason. And animals behave very strangely during, did I say apocalypse again? Eclipse! Anyway, so it's a tradition with them that certain things can happen around eclipse, positive and negative, but you want to be very careful about the negative. And I've been looking at various ancient cultures because I tend to follow them. They have an atavistic connection, to ancient things. And, they're often right, especially when it has things to do with the natural world. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be in this room, likely with the lights off, I don't know, for the whole 3 hours. The air conditioning broke, strangely enough. A guy came to fix it today, said he fixed it, left, he didn't fix it. So I'm going to be in here without the air conditioning, but I don't care. I'm going to have the shades drawn, and I'm going to be reflecting upon the moon, which is usually what reflects the sun, as it passes over the face of the sun and obscures it. And I'm going to be thinking about my personal shadow, my personal darkness, which stands between me and the brilliant illumination of the ineffable within. And how that has been, not just in my life, but in everyone else's life, most everyone else, and keeps us from seeing clearly the force and presence of the ineffable in our lives. I'm going to be reflecting on that as it passes over the sun, obscures it, and then passes away. And I'm going to be celebrating that darkness leaving my life, because I get a very strong and powerful sense that this is very likely true. And I want to take advantage of it if it is. I do not want to be one of those people who are, paying $1,500 to camp in somebody's yard so I can see the eclipse. I don't want to see the eclipse. I don't want to be out there in it. I want to be inside dealing with the metaphysical implications of it. And this is what I advise that anyone else would do. Although it is everyone else's life, the ineffable is the cornerstone of my existence. It's essential for my life. And I want my love for the ineffable to increase to where it is greater than my love for anything else ever at any other time. And that my focus is more completely upon the ineffable than it is at anything else at any other time. This is what I seek for myself. This is my goal. And so I want to take an opportunity with any natural event or any kind of event at all. I can always remind myself that this is the primary drive within me. And I believe it's the right drive. I believe it's the important drive. And for me, it has become the only drive. And I thank the ineffable that as I have grown older in life, this has become more and more the prevailing focus of my existence. And I highly recommend it to everyone else. I highly recommend it. I wish all of you well, as I hope you know. I pray for you on occasion. I'm always here at your disposal if in any way I can assist you with whatever small amounts of advice I'm capable of, or whatever the ineffable may inspire me to say to you. I just want you to know that. And that I am insufficient and incomplete quite often in the way that I go about my life and what I try to do in terms of accomplishing what is right. But I never give up trying. And I truly do believe that one day I will attain to a greater capacity for service. That is my objective. Yes, I've made many mistakes. And I've, well, need I say more than that? But I'm trying not to make any further mistakes, my friends. And that said, I want to say I love you very much. And I hope we all get the chance to meet each other before departing from this temporary plane of existence. Okay, we've come to the end of another broadcast, and I'll see you next week if there is one. That said, be aware of the eclipse. Like any natural wonder, it means more than the surface interpretation, which varies from person to person. That said, hail Lord Jesus Christ. Much love, Lady Nature. Michamambu Guru Bawa. Alhamdulillah. Om Amitabha. Hare Krishna. Greetings, my dear friend Ganesh. Shri Ganesh. Good Lord visible. Carry on, Baha'u'llah, Aloha, and God bless you one and all.